When packing for a flight, you may not realize that some of the items that you want to pack with you will not be allowed through airport security. This is because there are different rules for the items that you can pack in each luggage type. And if you're a new traveler, this can be confusing and frustrating. So in this video, I'm going to explain what each of the different types of luggage there are, what you are and are not allowed to pack in each one. Let's go.
Dream vacations start here.
So let me start out by explaining what the different types of luggage you're allowed to take with you on your flight. There are 3 types of baggage you're allowed to bring. The first type of baggage is what's called a carry-on bag. This would be a small suitcase that you would take with you onto the plane, and it has to be small enough to fit in the overhead storage compartment on the airplane. There is a size limit for a carry-on bag, and that would be 9 by 14 by 22 inches, which would also include the handles and wheels of the bag as well. The next bag is what's called a personal item bag. This could be a purse or a backpack. There's not a size limit for a personal bag, but it does need to be able to fit under the seat in front of you on the airplane. Generally, you want it to be under 16 by 12 by 6 inches. I like to use this laptop backpack when I travel, and it comfortably fits under the seat with no issues. And I probably wouldn't go too much bigger than this as you start running into fit issues, but just know for both the carry-on and personal item bag, you're only allowed 1 each per passenger. So then anything larger than a carry-on bag would be by default a checked bag. A checked bag simply means that your luggage is too big to fit in the overhead compartments of the plane and has to be stored under the plane where it has a dedicated area for storing luggage. Now, most of the major airlines do not charge for carry-on and personal item bags, but expect to pay a fee if you're flying a budget airline like Frontier or Spirit. For checked bags, expect to pay a fee between $30 to $60 depending on the airline and where you're flying to, and even more for a second bag unless you're flying Southwest Airlines, in which case they do not charge for checked bags. Also, make sure you check on the airline's website to see what their weight and size limitations are for each checked bag. Most airlines have a weight limit of 50 pounds per bag. So let's now talk about what you should pack in each type of bag, and then I'll follow up with the items that are restricted for each luggage type. So let's start with the personal item bag. Your personal item bag is going to be your most accessible type of luggage because it'll be located under the seat in front of you and easy to reach. So ideally, you should pack most of the items you'll need for your flight in this bag. Items like electronics, like your phone, laptop, headphones, power bank, camera. And then you should pack other things that keep you entertained, like e-readers, books, magazines, iPads. You can also pack snacks and homemade food. Make sure you pack valuables like your wallet, jewelry. Also important documents like your passport, visas, IDs, and also medicine. Anything that you might need to access quickly during your flight, like inhalers, EpiPens, etc. Moving on to carry-on luggage. Because carry-ons are stored in the airplane's overhead compartments, you won't be able to access them during certain stages of the flight, which would be takeoff, landing, and any potential turbulence. In these stages of flight, the seatbelt sign will be turned on, which means you aren't allowed to stand up and access the overhead compartments. For context, the takeoff and landing stages usually last between 15 to 25 minutes, and it's also important to know that if you're sitting in the middle or window seat, it's going to be a lot harder to access the overhead bins as you'll need to get by the person with the aisle seat to be able to stand up in the aisle to access your carry-on. So here are some of the items you should pack in your carry-on. Any items that didn't fit in your personal item bag but you'll need during the flight. Sleeping accessories. This could be headphones, sleeping mask, pillow, a travel blanket, etc. A warm jacket or hoodie because air conditioning on planes is usually set to pretty cold. Duty-free items. Your bag of toiletries and liquids, and I'll explain more about this in a second, and fragile items. This could be souvenirs or glass items that you're taking with you in your carry-on. So let me just explain what the bag of toiletries and liquids are. So the main rule you'll need to know for both the personal item and carry-on bag is the 3-1-1 rule. The rule states that for any liquid, aerosol, gel, cream, or paste, they must be 3.4 ounces or less per item in travel-size containers. And I see so many people bring their full-size shampoo and body wash containers, and those will just get confiscated from you and thrown out. So make sure they're in 3.4 ounce travel containers like this one. And then each container that you want to bring will need to fit in one clear quart-sized bag like this. And you're only allowed 1 of these bags per passenger. So the most common types of toiletries that people bring are toothpaste, mouthwash, shampoo, body wash, deodorant, specifically spray or gel deodorant. But for any of these items, you want to make sure, like I said, they're in travel size containers of 3.4 ounces or less. And most grocery store and pharmacies have a travel section where you can pick up travel size toiletries like these. This will be a travel size shaving gel, travel size face wash, and travel size toothpaste. Now they do come in bigger sizes for toothpaste, but you get the idea. Moving on to some of the items that you would not be able to pack in a carry-on bag would be most sharp objects, including pocket knives. You can bring scissors, but they do have to be less than 4 inches from the pivot point. Flammable liquids and aerosols, compressed cylinders, and toxic chemicals are also prohibited, as well as firearms, explosives, and even toy guns, and anything else that looks like a dangerous weapon, even if they are fake. Another question I get asked a lot about is food. You can bring food with you through security as long as it doesn't violate the 311 rule. Now, the TSA does have its own definition of what they consider a liquid is compared to what you and I would consider a liquid. For example, peanut butter is considered a liquid by the TSA. So if you were thinking of bringing a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you'll need to think again. Now, there are certain items that are allowed over the 3.4 ounce rule, such as hand sanitizer, medically necessary medicine, and breast milk or baby formula. You can bring 1 bottle of hand sanitizer up to 12 ounces per passenger, and if you need to carry medically necessary medicine, you can carry more than the 3.4 ounce restriction. And the same goes for breast milk and baby formula, as long as they're in reasonable quantities. If you plan on taking any of these items with you in either your carry-on or personal item bag, you will first need to let the security officers know that you have them so they can properly screen them. Moving on to checked luggage. In checked luggage, you're free to pack just about anything in them, including all the items I told you you couldn't pack in your carry-on and personal item bag, except for the dangerous items like explosives, flammables, and chemicals. Just keep in mind that you won't be able to access your bag during your flight. If you have a connecting flight, your bag will most likely be transferred over to the next flight for you, so the next time you'll see your bag will be at your final destination. My advice to you is to not pack anything in your checked luggage that you can't live without. Luggage on occasion does get lost or damaged in transit, so you definitely don't want to keep anything that is of value to you. Another important thing to mention is that you should always pack your electronics and batteries in your carry-on or personal item bag. Batteries are banned from checked luggage altogether, although laptops, phones, and tablets are technically allowed, but they must be switched off and protected from activating. But it isn't a good idea to pack them anyway, since they can get lost or stolen. But here are the items you should pack in a checked bag. Drinks over 3.4 ounces, like wine bottles, juices, bottled water. Toiletries up to 18-ounce containers. Anything larger than that is prohibited by the FAA. Also, the total amount of liquid, gel, paste, and aerosol toiletries in checked luggage is limited to 68 ounces per person. Now, this applies to toiletries only and not to normal liquids. To find out if an item is considered a toiletry item or a normal liquid, ask yourself whether that item needs to be applied to your hair or skin. If yes, then it's a toiletry item. Sharp items. They must be safely secured so the security agents don't accidentally get injured while performing searches. Clothing to cover your whole trip. Extra shoes because they're bulky and you won't need them during the flight. Sports or hiking clothing, and anything else that doesn't fit in your carry-on luggage. So I sort of gave you the 30,000 foot view of what you can and cannot pack in your luggage. There's a lot more I could have mentioned, but if you want to go deeper into this topic and find out specifically if there's an item you can pack, I have an entire playlist of videos that break down which items you can and cannot pack in each type of luggage, broken down by category. So I'll link that playlist down in the show notes. You can also ask the TSA directly on either Twitter or Facebook Messenger at Ask TSA. And to go along with that, if you want to know what items you need to take out of your bag, what items of clothing you need to take off when going through security, what the size and weight restrictions are for carry-on luggage, or how to even navigate an airport for the first time, I have videos on all those topics, so be sure to check out the show notes, which will have the links to those videos. And if you have any questions, feel free to post those in the comment section of this video. I'm happy to answer those questions for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.